You might have seen Aziz Ansari's new Netflix special.
After lockdown and everything, a lot of people stood up for themselves in terms of their job. They kind of reassessed their lives and their work life, and they were like, look, man, if you don't pay me right, you don't give me these benefits, I'm gonna leave. And the company's like, all right then, leave.
He's talking about what some people are calling the Great Resignation, but others are calling it the Great Reassessment. Because rather than just quitting and leaving the workforce, workers have been able to find better paying jobs, better benefits, and more opportunities. The unemployment rate in December 2021 fell to 3.9%. For comparison, in February 2020, before the pandemic hit, it was at 3.5%. So it's looking like we're in the middle of a very strong recovery. But the unemployment rate alone doesn't tell the full story.
You cannot capture something as complicated as the strength or weakness of the US labor market in one number. You have to look at a variety of things. At certain times, the unemployment rate is really masking some important information, and now is one of those times. Because what we're seeing now is the labor force participation rate is very depressed.
The December jobs report also showed us that wages are continuing to increase. Hourly wages increased 19 cents in December, which is a pretty significant amount.
And if somebody's quitting to take another job, you can be pretty certain that they're quitting to take a better job. When you look at overall wage growth numbers, they're pretty high right now, and those things are related.
One of the reasons that we're seeing wage growth is that employers are having to compete for workers. This gives some employees leverage to demand better pay. Due to childcare shortages, COVID-19 illnesses, and lack of benefits, immigrants, mothers, and the elderly are all missing from the workforce, meaning that even though there are a lot of jobs, employers are having to hike pay and benefits to fill them. Experts expect this to last well into 2022.
The kinds of labor shortages that we're seeing now are having very good effects for working people, and they are not holding back the recovery.
Employers are having more and more difficulty finding workers to fill their jobs, and many on the left are heralding this as really a positive development. They say that this is in effect forcing employers to pay their workers more, offer them better benefits, all in an attempt to attract and retain talent.
The Census Bureau is giving a real look at how COVID is affecting the nation's workforce. Nearly 9 million Americans called out sick in January due to the record-breaking surge of Omicron cases, which is another reminder of how the country's economic outlook is tied to its health.
There's never like a massive structural change in the aftermath of recessions. There's some, but mostly the jobs that come back look like the ones that were lost. What that means in this recovery is we lost a lot of jobs in face-to-face service sector industries. Those are also the jobs that are now coming back disproportionately.
However, there's an uneven labor force recovery happening throughout the pandemic. The unemployment rate for Black workers rose to 7.1% in December, an increase heavily driven by Black women.
We've seen that women are hit harder by COVID in many cases because they are concentrated in these frontline industries. They work in food, hospitality, retail. These are all cases where if there's restrictions in your area because of rising COVID cases, you're going to be the first people to, if not lose your jobs, then lose hours, lose wages.
It's no secret that inflation has wreaked havoc on the economy in the last few months, even as President Biden claims he's making progress.
This is obviously a political liability for the Biden administration and something that I think the White House is working hard to address, but it's not entirely up to them. The Federal Reserve actually has a lot of the control. And for them, it's really been this issue of weighing employment against inflation.
I think there's quite a bit of room to raise interest rates without threatening the labor market. This is, by so many measures, a historically tight labor market.
If you have interest rates at a point where you want to encourage employment, that is often going to cause inflation to go up. And so for them, it's been this issue of kind of weighing the two and deciding what the economy needs more. I think there will be this calibration period where as we transition from the 2010s where cheap labor was common, it was easier for employers to make a profit, to now in the 2020s smaller labor force, fewer people in the workforce, and an economy that continues to grow. Demand continues to go up. Inflation is through the roof.
So why was there such a strong recovery? Well, in large part, it was thanks to the multiple rounds of government stimulus that totaled at least $5.2 trillion and essentially poured money directly into Americans' bank accounts.
The fact of the matter is that this is a long-term adjustment. It's really kind of more of a permanent shift than a temporary one. It'll be interesting to watch, that's for sure.